Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially back in session. We are here for another guest speaker episode, and I am thrilled to have my next guest on the podcast. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Sympli Whitney. Thank you so much for being here. This is awesome. I'm really excited to have you. And how you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing pretty darn good, actually. I'm happy that I'm able to meet you. I've only heard just a little bit about you, found you on Instagram quickly, and was like, wait a minute, what's this all about? And yeah, I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy that we talked, and here we are.
Yeah, I know. I'm really happy we were able to get it done. Yeah. And the world is small, Whitney. It's very small because
yes, it is.
I was roommates with your nephew, which is just hilarious.
It's crazy.
So big shout out to Bo.
Shout out nephew.
Yeah, he's a great guy and someone that I still keep in touch with, and that was pretty
cool.
funny. Yeah, we stayed in touch for every once in a while, and it was just so funny though, because when I texted him, I was like, oh my God, like I'm talking to your aunt right now. He's like, I already know. She already told me. So,
I was like, this is crazy.
I know, right? It's just a small world. Things work out, right? I mean, you find us on a whim and we're having a good conversation already. Just works out great. And then, doing my little homework on you and realizing how just embedded you've been in the music scene, especially around Massachusetts, and doing it as long as you have, and the genre of music you do is definitely a little bit, I would say, different than a lot of the artists we've had on the podcast. So this is going to be a really cool kind of change of pace for us and our listeners as well.
Oh, cool!
So
great.
Super pumped to have you. And I guess we'll start off, with just kind of your upbringing in music. Like,
Sure.
How'd you get started with singing? I know you're a singer, and so you got obviously your piano in the background. I was commenting on your aesthetic earlier. So so tell me a little bit about your background in music, and did you just start singing? Did you play any instruments, piano? Like, tell me a little bit about how you started.
What I'll tell you right now is that I can't play a lick of that thing. I just have it for the aesthetic.
All for show.
But I have been able to tinker a little bit with some notes and stuff like that. But I got started in the church singing when I was like about 3 years old. And music's always been in my family. Both of my parents performed at the Apollo back in the 60s. And their doo-wop bands and stuff like that. And I was able to follow them years later at the Apollo. And we just always were a singing family. So it wasn't something I really had to study. It was kind of in my DNA. I was introduced to Grease at an early age. It's one of my favorite one of my favorite musical performances and productions. And along with Godspell and different Broadway features, and I just was surrounded by music, and as a result, it just became part of my rhythm, if you will, part of my heartbeat. So at an early age, I would perform for my family. Me and my community neighborhood buddies would put on Michael Jackson and do some Michael at the family gatherings and stuff like that until they would tell us to sit down. And Michael Jackson probably was the one who ushered me into really thinking about, geez, man, how do you become a superstar? How do you elevate so high in the world? Because in my opinion, there's really no one else like Michael Jackson. No one else. I mean, Elvis Presley did his thing, but I have to say that a lot of his stuff was not his.
Nope, it was not. A lot of people don't realize that too.
Yeah,
like
it wasn't
a lot of his influences were really embedded in like the jazz scene and like really in the African American culture scene where it came from with jazz and soul back then. Like that was really the root of it. A lot of people don't realize that.
Exactly. And so I really honed in on Michael Jackson. Now, I'm not the type of super fan that like knows everything about Michael Jackson, like where he how he folded his underwear and all this stuff. I don't know that, you know what I'm saying? But what I do know is the way I felt when I would listen to Michael, the way I felt when I would watch him perform. And I never quite understood. I mean, people are just fainting and being carried out and just completely overwhelmed by this man. And I was like, wow. And I never said I wanted to be that. Like, I don't want to be Michael Jackson, but it would surely be cool if people could just feel my emotion like that in a room and we could just have a good time, you know, so much so that all eyes are on me for 4 hours, you know what I mean? And that's where I'm kind of, you know, hooked. I like the showbiz part of it. I'm not the best singer in the world, but I know I can perform my ass off, you know what I mean? And that's what has kind of carried me through my journey so far. So the church is where, you know, it all started. And in the church, people will tell you that you can sing because that's what they're supposed to say, right? They're supposed to give you that support. But, you know, it wasn't until I got out of the church, went to college, joined a funk band, met George Clinton, performed with George Clinton in the Parliament Funkadelics in Muncie, Indiana. And that's when I was like, yo, I think I want to do this, you know?
Wow. So you performed with George Clinton?
Sure did.
All right, hold on. Before I ask that question, I have to say, because I'm sure Bo's listening to. So the music thing missed Bo somehow, huh? He's not. He's not musically inclined from what I remember.
No.
Is he?
Mr. Bo can sing.
Can he really?
Yep. Him, his sister, and his brother.
Really?
All sing. Yeah.
The whole
matter of fact, his little brother's going to nationals within his church for singing. And Danielle, I'm not playing Marshall. I'm not sure if you ever met
I remember Marshall. I remember when he was really little. Like I don't.
Okay, yeah. Well, no, he's not little anymore, and
he's not.
he's a bit of a ladies' man now, and he's an excellent singer, singer. And his sister Danielle is the director of, I don't know. Her and her husband do great things in the church. So, but don't let Bo, the next time you see Bo, all right, don't let him get away. He needs to sing for you because he can sing.
I mean, I lived with the man for almost a year and never once heard the man sing. So that's why I like, or maybe
shy.
that's just, but yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. That's really funny. Yeah. I mean, he was big in football back then and all that. So I mean, probably this part of it, right?
He's shy, and he's probably going to be upset that I said that publicly, but I don't care.
That's okay. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
But anyway, so now going back to because this is now blowing my mind. I didn't even realize this at all, that you played with George Clinton.
Sure
That's
did.
Unbelievable.
Sure did. Yeah. In Muncie,
Indiana.
Okay. So this is how it went down. The drummer in the band that I'm in, right, was trying real hard to get George Clinton to pick him up, right, as a backup drummer. So we got tickets. We went down to Muncie, Indiana. We had a funk band at the time, so we were doing some of his stuff anyway. And he had made the arrangements. We didn't know, right? The drummer, Rico Lewis is his name, and you can check him out because he's the lead for Sons of Funk, with all the different, like the nephew of George Clinton's guitar player is in his band, you know, that kind of stuff. But anyway, he set it all up, and we get to Muncie. We're in this big, you know, football stadium watching George Clinton do his thing or whatever. And next thing you know, the Rico says, guys, come on, we're going on stage. All of a sudden, we're up on stage with George Clinton, man. Full garb. I mean, George had his whole thing on, man. It was crazy. The guy with the pamper, all those cats. It was outstanding. I was probably like 19, 20. It was an amazing time. But Indiana's like the heart of funk and soul, and like Babyface is out of there, and I'm not sure if you know who Babyface is.
I do know Babyface, absolutely.
Babyface is a huge R&B legend.
Yeah.
And he's out there. So I had the opportunity to play with Babyface's band, had the opportunity to play with George Clinton, you know, along with, you know, just random stuff, you know. I actually got fired from the Babyface band, though, because I hadn't learned how to perform a song yet. They wanted me to be the lead and get people up and dancing and stuff like that, and I was just trying to learn the song, you know.
Yeah, totally.
And so they were like, nah, you're not gonna you're not gonna make it.
You're not gonna make it. Not gonna make the cut. But I mean, even just to be able to have those experiences at such a young age, at that time, that's got to be so amazing for you. And of course, as you can see my wall, I'm a big Outkast fan. They're actually so Outkast was like the music entity that got me into hip hop, because I was never, growing up, I didn't really listen to a lot of hip hop until I was probably like, I think 9, and I stumbled upon Outkast. And
at 9 years old.
Yep. Well, so
Outkast at 9.
This was one of my first albums I ever bought. This is a story that's deep into the archives of our podcast that people can go check out. But yeah, so anyway, but the Spark Notes version is, so I begged my parents to let me buy this album. And 9 years old, and they made me get the clean version, of course. But just the way that they were able to bring in like soul, neo soul, and funk and things like influences that I had heard like floating around the house and things like that. Like, for example, like Kenny G was big in my house. There's a lot of Kenny G. Luther Vandross, Marvin Gaye, like all of that, like that was good really stuff. Very good stuff, embedded in my house a lot. Like my mom was really influential, like with like kind of trying to show me different types of music, but she wasn't really a hip hop fan. I mean, she got into Eminem and things like that once I like got more into hip hop, and that I think hip hop at the time was starting to really become. I mean, I'm a '90s baby, so but the
'90s, Jesus,
yep,
but boy. Right,
early 90s, but yes. But once I started getting through Outkast discography, like I had to go backwards, of course, and that's when I stumbled upon George Clinton, because it was like like the Equemini, albums and things like that. I'm like, oh, like who's this George Clinton dude? And so that's where I really got into funk, and then really enough, like I mean, then like I love how it's kind of starting to make a comeback. I think because someone like Childish Gambino doing an album like "Awaken My Love" over here. I mean, again, this is like my favorite music. Gambino, I mean, brought that back. I feel like into the main, like really the mainstream, and I think that's it's such a fun, just incredible like genre, such a vibe. Like I think, and I agree with you too. It's like I feel as though that's a genre you have to experience in person.
Hell yeah.
The COVID thing has probably been so horrible for artists like yourself, where you thrive off that in-person, just authentic energy, where you just can't get that on a live stream,
Nah, it's horrible. I mean, it's cool to have live stream, and you have to be able. It's a whole different type of performance, because you have to just imagine and keep people entertained. I happen to be a funny person, so I bring a little comedy into it. And I happen to be real with the crowd. If I'm sweaty, they're gonna know about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm often quoted saying, I'm like a whole melted chocolate kiss up in here. Laying it all on the line for you guys tonight. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about, some people can sing, can really sing. You know what I'm saying? And then there's other folks that can sing, but perform their tails off. I'm the latter. You know what I mean? I'm the one who's gonna come in and sing the melody. I'm not gonna do a bunch of runs and all these fantastical things that folks do very well. But one thing I am is energetic. I'll kick my leg up in the air with my little baby heel, because I don't do stilettos. But I'll do all that, and that's what keeps the crowd coming. That's what keeps the crowd remember Sympli Whitney. She's a dynamite performer, man. We're gonna have fun. And in Boston, that's how you set yourself apart, because Berkeley is right around the corner. You know what I'm saying? You got the best of the best at Berkeley. Best singers, best engineers, producers, all that stuff is at Berkeley, and they're honing their craft. And so it's always a testament to my work when folks like Berkeley professors want to work with me. I call them and I say, hey, I got a gig coming up. Yeah, sure, I'll be there. That's huge. And I don't need accolades. I don't need anything. If people answer the phone for me, I'm good, and I don't need a bunch of money. I don't need a big stage, which is one of the lines in my first album, Rise of the Phoenix, the signature, the title song. I don't need a big stage. I don't need my name in lights. You know what I mean? Because I'm rising. You know what I'm saying? I don't need all that. Just give me the microphone. I make my own stage.
I love that attitude and just kind of in really that mentality too. And I think too, I think something that's lost in live shows as well is that, especially in like if it's an intimate setting and things like that, like if it's a jazz club, like I'm big into the speakeasies and all that. Like I took a trip down to New Orleans about 2 years ago with a friend of mine. Yeah, it was so much fun. But like, I mean, of course we did the whole Bourbon Street thing, but like one of our, we say this all the time, you know, looking back years later, one of our favorite nights that we had there was actually a night where we went to a jazz club and just sat there and listened to jazz bands and singers and just amazing performances all night long. We sat there for, I'm not kidding, like 4 hours, and we just sat there and just ordered a little bit of food, a couple of drinks, and we just listened to the music and like the energy and the vibe. It's just so. We were at BB King's club, and I just. That experience, like I remember it very vividly, and just in the energy, like it's very palpable when you're in that type of setting. And there's something about neo soul and funk music that just does that to you. It's just, I don't know, it's hard to explain.
It's the heartbeat. It's a heartbeat.
It really is.
You know, it's not music. Once you're in that environment and you walk into something like BB King's, or even in Boston, somewhere like Daryl's or Slade's or Wally's, you know, those places. When you're in there, and you're open to it, you have no ego. You're not looking for anything. You end up just going for an amazing ride, an amazing journey with these artists, and that's what, you know. Ultimately, I mean, I wasn't looking to do Sympli Whitney. You know, I just went out to Slade's one night, ordered some chicken. It was a Tuesday night, and I had like baggy jeans on, this big oversized T-shirt, and construction boots. I get up on stage because they have a live karaoke. So they have a live band, and if they know the song, they'll play it for you and you sing it, you know. So I got up there and people are looking at me all funny, never seen me before, and sang Anita Baker, Sweet Love.
Ooh, good choice.
Anita Baker and Michael Jackson are my inspirations. And so I do Sweet Love, and they're like, wait a minute. She's not supposed to sing like that.
She's pretty good.
Look at her, you know? Yeah. And from that point on, you know, the Boston musicians really embraced me. Folks who have been in the game for a long time really embraced me. And Frank Wilkins is a well-known pianist, producer, and performer. And he took me under his wing for a few sets, and really helped me out with just giving me confidence. Like, you can do this. So it ended up being that Slade's was the kind of jump off for Sympli Whitney. I ended up joining a band called Nemesis, which was all about funk and, you know, an old school Earth, Wind and Fire. We had like all these horns and all these folks, you know, there's like 12 folks, you know, and we had a crazy time. It was nuts. Ended up just doing amazing things in the Boston area before ultimately splitting up because it was just too big of a band. We couldn't get booked. But that kind of catapulted me into the scene. And I just haven't stopped, you know, honing. And
that's great. I love that. That's a really great story. You just kind of one day you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna get up there and try it, and it's
got chicken on my fingers. I don't care. I'm like, give me the mic. You know. So.
No, but I think that too. Like, I really, I mean, just talking to you now for not even 20 minutes. Like, I can feel your personality, like even coming through something like this. So I can only imagine like what it's like in a show in a setting. Like,
oh, it was crazy.
I'm excited to once this COVID thing's finally hopefully. I think we're getting there. We're almost there this summer. I think we're close. But I'm definitely gonna be coming in to see you perform at some point, because this. I
hope so, man. Bring Bo.
I'm gonna, because I haven't seen him in a little while too, so I'll drag him and make him out. Make it a little college reunion. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Be a great time. No, and like I said, like that type of music, like it's like it's one thing to see a live show when it's at, like, let's say like TD Garden or whatever, and DCU Center or whatever, like. Just plug in whatever arena or stadium you want. And like, that's all good and well. I mean, those productions are really cool. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if you see like a really big name artist, but where you find, like, again, like the grassroots stuff is just so, you can't put a price on that. And that's like, and that feeling and that intimacy and just the energy and all of that. So, and of course, like I said, the funk music is something that I've definitely thoroughly enjoyed, and just neo soul, all that for a long time in my life. So I'm glad it's kind of kind of coming back a little bit. It's making a little bit of a comeback, and especially in the mainstream, really enjoyable. And so for you, like, what's been one of your most, like, clearly you, George Clinton, and you know, that was obviously a great moment for you. But what are some other, like, even maybe in Boston too, like, what have been some really memorable moments for you as a performer, as an artist?
Memorable moments. Couple, actually. Again, I didn't come into this thinking that I would be Sympli Whitney, you know. I got the opportunity in 2013 to perform at Slade's for BET.
Oh, wow.
Black Entertainment Television. For those of that, I mean, people should know that.
I remember BET. Oh, yes.
In Michael Bivins, who is New Edition's leader,
oh, wow.
who's from Boston, right? Michael Bivins just said, you know what? We're going to send 100 Bostonian artists down to the Apollo to try out for Apollo Live. Now, Apollo Live is different than Showtime at the Apollo. Apollo Live was Gladys Knight, Michael Bivins, and Dougie Fresh in the audience giving artists feedback about their performance. You know, and of course at the Apollo you applaud for who wins and who doesn't, right? So I get to Slade's, and I have to, and first I didn't know it was happening. Somebody called me early in the day and was like, you got to get down to Slade's by this time. I was like, I'm in Springfield, right? Because I worked in Springfield at the time. So I leave work, shoot from Springfield to Boston. I get there and I don't realize it, but I'm standing in the wrong line, right? And there's a woman there, her name is Mia. And Mia worked for the radio station that brought BET and was working with Michael Bivins and all that. Mia pulls me to the side and she says, you're in the wrong line. Puts me in a line with like 5 folks. Now I'm looking and I'm watching this other line that I was standing in. Now this line that I was standing in was the line for people who were just walking up to try it. The line that she put me in were people that she wanted to go first, right? The radio station had. Now I didn't know that she had seen me perform before. Okay. And put me in that line on purpose to separate me from all the other folks that were wrapped around the corner. So I go in and I sing Anita Baker, right? And to my amazement, BET's like, you. Okay. So a week later, you know, we get on a bus and we go down to the Apollo, and, you know, everybody's all nervous and we're all happy and everything, getting down to the Apollo. And we had to perform and do our thing. And we have like 90 seconds to sing a song. You got to stand on the X and stand in the camera and all this stuff. And lo and behold, they choose me again. So I'm like, wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But remember I said 90 seconds. So about 30 seconds into me singing, they stop me and they say, choose another song. I'm like, you know, like, I don't, you know, so now the Sympli Whitney comes out. Now I'm just going to perform because I don't know what the hell's going on. You know, so now I'm off of the X. I'm dancing around. People behind me are like, yeah, you know, people are all enjoying it and everything. And so people are smiles. It's all smiles. And they say, okay, thank you. And there's like 25 of us. And we're in this gymnasium. We got our tag, you know, and they start calling numbers, right? They call my number. Okay. All right. So now I'm in the running to be on the Apollo Live show. I don't hear anything for months, Mike. I'm talking about months. Okay, so this happened 2013 or so, right? I get a call Saturday morning around 8 in the morning, right? And I'm like, who in the hell? Who's calling me at 8 in the morning on a Saturday, right? So I get this call. Ma'am, is this Whitney? I said, yes. She's like, we're just going to go over your travel itinerary for the upcoming Apollo Live show. I was like, Now, prior to that, I had gotten the mail that I'd be a stand-in, you know, like if somebody didn't show. And I was like, well, I'm confused because, I mean, I'm not saying no, but I'm confused because I was a stand-in. She's like, oh, no, ma'am, you've been selected on the, you know, this night you're going to perform, blah, blah, blah. I was like, fine. They set me up 5 days in New York, paid, you know, I get to see like Music Soul Child. I get to see Gladys Knight, and you know, I'm just like, wow. You know, I'm amongst artists that are just amazing artists. Get up on stage. I end up being second place to these two young men, I'll call them, that were out of Peabody, Mass. They were a hip hop group called Romeo or Juliet, right? All right, so they're hip hop artists, and they sang and rapped. Right. So they were surprised because they thought it was in the bag. They had gone to all the New York colleges, invited all the kids out from the colleges to the show and all that stuff. But the old school folks loved Anita Baker. And the old school folks were screaming louder than the younger kids, right? Ended up being that I did lose to the two of them. But that was probably the most memorable time in my life. When I got back to Boston, my career shot off. My career was just like, yo, because people didn't realize that that I was going to be on the Apollo. Right. Like I didn't have time to promote it because again, they called me at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. I had to call my boss and let my boss know that I wasn't going to be in for the entire week. Wow. You know what he said? He's like, "Are you going to come back?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm coming back. Let's hope."
Or not even.
Right. Yeah. So that was a memorable moment. And then another amazing. Memorable moment in life was performing at Daryl's Corner Bar and Kitchen. It was my first time doing an original show. So all originals that I had written with my band. And we did 2 90-minute shows. Now, I was nervous as all get down because it's all original music. People don't really want to hear that. But I had a good show. I mean, it was banging, Mike. The owner comes up to me at the end, towards the end, and she says, Raphael Sadiq is here. Do you know who that is?
I do know Raphael. Yeah. Music Soul Child. Like I know all Gladys Knight.
Okay, cool.
I know
Tony,
them.
Tony, right?
I totally
and so
know them.
Raphael Sadiq was in the back of the bar, listening to my music. I don't know if he liked it or not, but I know he didn't leave. You know what I mean? And I know that place was packed. And so those two moments sealed the deal for me. And I'm probably forgetting tons more. But those two, because you know there's times where you say to yourself, is this too much? Like, is this, you know, I don't want to keep doing these clubs for $100, you know, and that kind of stuff. Because really, the pay isn't great.
Right.
It's all about the love for it. You know what I'm saying? It's all about just doing it because you love it. And moments like those, you know, that just kind of fall on you.
Yeah.
And if you're in the right line, if you got the right, you know, friend, you know what I mean?
Happens
at the right time.
Yeah. Timing. Yeah, timing, connections, all that. But yeah, even too, but you have to have some sort of, you know, obviously passion, but talent as well. And it's pretty clear that you got some pretty great cosigns, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah, dude. I got Michael Bivins telling me, and he was rocking with me. I got Gladys Knight saying, you know, I felt that you had an angel. You know, I could feel that, you know, and Dougie Fresh didn't really know what to say. He's a rapper, you know.
Yeah.
But he was like, it was very nice. It was very nice.
said what he had to say in that situation. Yeah, no, I get
yeah,
it.
you know.
Yeah, this isn't really my. I'll leave this to Gladys and Mike.
Yeah, right. Like this isn't my thing. You know?
Yeah. I'll chime in when the rappers come in. No, in the DJs. No, that's fantastic though. Like those moments, like you said, it really is. Those are the priceless moments. Are those?
Yeah,
like
man.
You can't any amount of money $sign doesn't equate to those memories that you're gonna have forever, and that's amazing. And so I'm just really happy to hear that. I think that's amazing for obviously our audience to hear. Just say that's the thing I preach a lot. It's like, you know, same thing with this podcast. It's like, you know, we don't make money off this podcast. It's not a profitable thing, but we do it because, you know, our team just loves the passion for not only podcasting but the music scene that is in Massachusetts. There's a lot of amazing talent here, and a lot of different genres. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's amazing to see really just. And again, like I know Boston's not really a music market. It's never really has been, but that's not to say that there aren't talented people here doing some really amazing things. So I just
amazing
love,
stuff. And there's musicians that travel the world with some of your favorite bands.
Right.
You know, that live right down the street. You know. In Boston, and just humble as all, you know, and just, traveling the world doing their thing.
Exactly.
And they've been so, I mean, I'm not from Boston, I'm from Framingham. And for them to open their arms up to me and it's just incredible. It's incredible. Because the music industry is so fickle.
Absolutely.
And hard to break.
But
definitely. If you get, you get around some good folks, Mike, and you are well prepared for the stage. You just are.
You just do it, yeah.
And they don't let you chill, as you can see.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday night.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? There's no chill.
There is no, absolutely.
No
yeah,
chill,
we just had, before you, the previous episode, we just had Johan Lennox on, and this is someone that was in classical music his whole life, and then jumps into contemporary music, is working with people like Kanye West and Big Sean. And
See? Isn't that crazy?
It's amazing, right? And people don't like obviously they do now, but our audience is just like, oh man, this guy's from Winchester, Massachusetts, like stop it. And it's like
Winchester, right?
It's like of all places, and like you just there are talented people that come out of here that just people don't talk about it as often, right? So, but good for you. That's just an incredible story, and I love hearing all these things. And so I'm curious as well too about how have you, I know you've been said, how has been this pandemic year been for you? And obviously like the performances have been really obsolete and not really, there. I know the live streams have been a thing. So how have you tried to, I know you're putting out, you have a solo, not solo, excuse me, you have a collaborative project that's coming out very soon. We'll get to it in just a second, but we want to talk to you a little bit about how's your transition been with this last year, and just trying to, how have you sort of pivoted your music career, if at all?
COVID's allowed me to like really figure out what I could do with my hands, right? Okay. Can I write music during this downtime? Can I write some music that will speak to people's emotions around missing music? You know what I mean? It's really hard to love in an environment where you can't see each other, touch each other, be in the same room. Can I write about that? And right before COVID hit, I had put together a couple songs we'll talk about later, and we had performed them, and people really liked it a lot, and I said, how now that everything's shut down, how could Sympli Whitney continue? You know what I mean? Because I don't want to do Zoom every day, every weekend doing Zoom gigs or something like that, because it's actually very tiring.
Zoom fatigue is a thing. That's like, it's a thing. It's really
people don't want to. People don't want to come. A lot of folks are teleworking, to include myself, and people don't want to, get off the Zoom to get on another Zoom to watch somebody yell and scream into a microphone. So it's like, how do I get people's interest? And what I found was just getting behind the pen and just writing. And we'll discuss the album, but there's so much more coming after that that I've been able to curate over the last year. And there's many things that I would like to do, things that are on the horizon, and that will take Sympli Whitney Productions to a different level in the industry. So there's so much, behind Sympli Whitney Productions that people don't realize. Because I don't want to end up just being all about music, because music can be the catalyst to much change. And I work for the Department of Mental Health for the state.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And so my 9 to 5, if you will, is all about working with kids who struggle with challenges in mental health. And what I've learned is that young adults aren't ready or prepared by the time 18 hits to be an adult. They're not ready, but they're viewed as adults at 18, exactly. Period. And parents aren't ready. Children aren't ready. And so there's an avenue that music can take you down that'll help prepare a mind for the world. And I say that because music, in all of its history, right, in any genre, music has brought people out of some pretty terrible situations, sure. Right? Music has put them in terrible situations. but it's like like I told you earlier, it's the heartbeat, right? If you're able to capture a young adult's mind through music, you got them. Period. You got them. Anything you pump into that young adult mind through music, that young adult will carry for the rest of their life, right? And so I'm very careful about what I write in my music. I'm careful about my message when I'm on stage.
Yeah.
You know, my music isn't really for young adults, if you will. Like the hip hop thing isn't my thing. You know, I don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand it. But Outkast, Nas, Common, Talib Kweli, those are the folks that I grew up on. That's what I know as hip hop, right?
Those are lyricists.
Right? So that's like lyricists, you know what I'm saying? Folks who write their own music, you know? I know that's crazy, but...
I know, wild, right? That anybody would write their own music.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That don't sample tracks. And even though sampling is just kind of what music industry is, I mean, there's no way that we could get around sampling. We can't. Somebody's already done it so brilliantly that there's no way that you just take it, pay for it, whatever you got to do, because it's inevitable. But I feel very strong that music is the catalyst to change. I feel that way. And if you think about it, We Are the World, right? That is a perfect example of what I'm saying.
It is. I agree.
Right? The whole world, right? Singing that song to this day. There's not one person who doesn't know that song.
That's very true. Very
right?
true.
And why and what the meaning was behind it.
Yep.
Or when Queen did their what was his name? I forget. I'm having a brain fart here. But when they did their
Freddie Mercury,
Freddie Mercury. Yeah, when Freddie Mercury's one of his last performances was around the AIDS epidemic, I believe.
Yep.
All of those, and those are the moments where you're like, wow, like music breaks all barriers.
Oh, oh, absolutely.
All barriers.
Oh, it really does. And I think this past year, I've even noticed too, like, you know, I think it's obviously something we've all had to take a step back and look at, like, you know, obviously our own lives and, you know, just the world in general. But I think when we were kind of all stuck in our houses, I've said this a couple times in this podcast too, but like when we were stuck in our houses, like what did we turn to? We turned to art, we turned to music, movies, just that, like the culture that I think not take for granted. That's like the wrong word, I think, or like the wrong phrase. We did. But I think a little bit. We took it maybe for granted. A little bit. Yeah. Yeah, maybe that is the right way to say it.
We took it for granted.
Yeah, like we just assumed like, oh, this is just part of it. But like when we had to actually slow down and stop, we're like, oh wow,
right.
like I can't go see a movie, I can't go to a restaurant, I can't go to a concert. So okay, now you're streaming more music, you're streaming, and like that, I think. You know, all the artists I've talked to in the last year, I think they've said that this has been an inspiring. It's been an inspiring year, but it's also been a year that's, you know, had its obviously hardships as well. Like with finding inspiration, I've seen like both dualities of that, and I've seen it in my own practice too. And it's interesting that you work with teens and mental health and all that, because of course, like I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, I'm a high school teacher, so I see it. Yeah, Turntable teachers is kind of the premise there, but I see it too. I think a lot of our youth are, you know, I've always said this about 18-year-olds, like, because I felt the same way at 18. It's like, you can't send an 18-year-old into the world and be like, hey, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? It's like, how are we asking our 16, 18-year-olds what they want to do with the rest of their lives? And funneling all this, I don't know, not bashing college, but, you know, funneling all this money into an institution when you're not even sure if that's what you want. You know, it's like, right. You know, it's really hard to, you know, ask a kid that. And then also, like you said, at the same time, it's like, you know, what do you turn to when you're down? You turn to, you know, maybe any kind of art. I mean, music is absolutely, like, for me, that is it. Like if I'm not feeling good, like I'm not inspired, I just, you know what, throw on my headphones or, you know, speakers, listen to music, whatever it is. Like, you know, even just my, like, I'm someone that's into meditation. Like I have this app called Calm. I'm sure people that, and even the music on there, it's very, it's not the same, of course, but it's all more instrumentally driven and very more lo-fi. But even that for me is so, like, just grounding in a way. You know?
Man. And the instrumentals are very peaceful for me. I actually listen to instrumentals all day while I'm working.
Oh yeah, right? I believe it.
All day.
A lot of people do
that. No lyrics, because I'll end up typing them in my email or whatever. But instrumentals is actually I was in the military. I was in South Korea, stationed in South Korea for a period of time, about 18 months back in early 2000s. And when I first landed, I'm also a basketball player.
I am too. I love who. I'm a basketball coach now, actually, as well. I coach.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
I coach at the high school that I teach at. So.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Yeah. So when I first get there, right, try out for the team, make the team, but during the tryouts, I get injured pretty bad, right? Had to be helicopter flight to the city, get a emergency surgery and all that stuff. And as a result, I was down for like weeks. I couldn't walk, right? Because I broke my ankle on both sides.
Oh.
And I joined, what was it? Columbia House. Do you remember that?
I think
where you
so.
can Columbia House is where you could buy.
Yes. It
you
was
can
like
get 12 CDs for 99 cents.
It was like a subscription base. I do remember that. Yep. Absolutely.
So I had just stacks of CDs.
Yeah.
But instrumentals kept me from losing my damn mind up in that barracks in South Korea. You know what I mean? Like I was able to really meditate on the music. And I was able to sing over at weddings and stuff in Korea and stuff like that. And music, like I said, music it could hold you. Mm-hmm. It could hold you. Mm-hmm. If you know what you like and you know what you're looking for. I mean, people put on music to cry, put on music to be angry, put on music to be happy. You know what I mean? Like music is literally all around us, mm-hmm. right? And like I said, it's the heartbeat. So if you just sit quietly, you can hear a rhythm. You know what I mean? In your own body.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, you're very right. Absolutely.
And a really quick story about that. I'm not sure if you ever heard of the movie Tap, starring Gregory Hines.
Not familiar.
No. Mm-mm. Gregory Hines is no longer with us. He was a famous tap dancer, but he also sang. And he actually did a really great song with Luther Vandross, but I digress. So there was a scene in the movie Tap where he was in a jail cell, real depressed. No, there's no music in jail cells, which sucks, really bad. But he was listening to the rain tap on the window, right? And from that one drop of rain, he was able to get up and get himself into a mind where he could start doing his tap dancing and stuff, and it pissed everybody else off in the jail cell because he was loud. But when I saw that, I knew that music transcends lyrics. It transcends instruments. Music is within. You can find it if you search hard enough. If you're open to it, you can find it, and it could carry you through. It could just hold you, man. So
cool story.
I mean, there's so much that people take for granted. And I believe that this last year people understand the power of music that they may not have understood before. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're yearning for it. I mean, so much so that, people just sit outside and listen to folks play on their porch. Remember when the COVID first hit in Italy? They were all isolated.
Yes.
And they did remember that? The videos coming out of Italy they made me cry. You know what I'm saying? People were on their balconies singing together. It was crazy. And that is what I was like, wow. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We got to get through this. We got to get through this because
I think we're close. And, there was this other thing too that actually I came on to before the pandemic that I thought was really interesting and cool that they do in Somerville. It's like I think called like Porch Fest or something like that.
Yeah.
Where people like bands will come out, they play on their porch. I think that's amazing. I love that's so cool, right? Like things like that you just you just can't put a price on those things. Like those types of experiences and like that energy is just you can't recreate it. And you almost can't explain it, right? It's like it is within you. It's really I think you bring up a really awesome point and about a lot of that, and the rain tapping is very interesting. And I didn't think about that either, but I guess if you don't have music accessible to you, like that might be some kind of spark there. That's really really an interesting concept. So I guess it kind of pose the question. It's like, in terms of our anatomy, our makeup, our mind, just our brains, like I think we just operate on rhythm in some capacity, all of us,
right.
even like,
yeah.
In some way,
right.
I'm more of an analytical mind when I listen to music, like especially with lyrics or even just like instrumentation. I love like kind of just sitting there and sort of trying to pick out particular instruments and seeing how they
yeah,
blend and play the mix, right? How they blend and play off of each other, or like, how an artist maybe, used a certain like metaphor or like imagery, whatever it is, right? I love that aspect of it. And I think we all listen to music for different, like you said, for different reasons, and we interpret it much differently. But at the end of the day, it's like, that's the beautiful part about it, right? The subjectivity.
I'm always pretty amazed at hip hop artists and rappers metaphors. Yeah. Because I'm like, how did they do that? Yeah. How did they, like paint a picture that is so vivid through words, and through words and experiences that are relatable.
Absolutely.
That are relatable. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand how Michael Jackson did it. I understand Anita Baker. I understand Shaka Khan and Luther.
Shaka Khan.
You know what I mean?
I love Shaka Khan.
Yeah, Shaka Khan, ridiculous. She's ridiculous.
So good.
She's so good, right?
Well, yeah. When I first heard Kanye West Through the Wire, that was one of the first songs I ever heard from Kanye. I think that was actually one of his. Really? That was his debut song. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. But and then again, so like you said with sampling, like, and then I hear Through the Fire like 2-3 years later. I'm like, wait a second.
Right?
I was like,
Kanye.
That's Kanye. Then someone was like, and I was young back then. I was like 12. I didn't understand, right? And I think it was my mom even. She's like, no, honey, like that's an old song. Like Kanye didn't invent that. Like Shaka Khan did. And I'm like, who's Shaka Khan then? And like, this is incredible. Like, you know
I
what I mean?
want to know who that is.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Nah, yeah.
Really
now
cool.
she's amazing. But those I understand that. Like I understand love, heartbreak, happiness. I'm not from an environment that was hard. I'm not from inner city environment. I can only relate as far as my mind can go, because my experiences don't. It's actually pretty challenging at times for me, because I'm considered upper middle class. When I was growing up, I was upper middle class, and to be a black girl and I'm in private schools and all this stuff.
Right.
And I don't understand the hip hop struggle. I don't get it. I think and it's not a judgment. It's more of a like,
no, it's a reality. Like you just don't,
it's the reality. I don't know.
You didn't experience it. So it's not something that you can like yourself, right. You can maybe like hear someone else talk about it and understand it from that perspective, but you'll never quite understand it on like a personal level. So. Right.
But what I do understand is just being black.
Right. True.
Right.
Yes,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? And I think people are getting there. Over the last year, we've had a lot of reason to pay attention to different things. And one thing that I can say in my community is that music has, if it weren't for music, I don't know where we would be.
It's interesting. Because
you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
If it weren't for music, I don't know where we would be. We are a people that we can literally toil in hot fields and sing. Yeah. That is amazing to me.
How crazy is that?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sing so much to the point people get mad at you. Like, why aren't you miserable? You should be miserable.
You should be miserable. Yeah. And they somehow found beauty in it. Yeah, you found it. It's unbelievable, isn't it? It really is.
You find a way, and in finding the way, like I mean, I'm also a vocal coach, and I'm learning some heavy metal. Like, I don't know why, but I am, because one of the kids likes Sabaton, and I'm not. Do you know who they are?
That's the one genre that I just am not like into. Like metal was never anything I could get into, unfortunately. That wasn't.
But it's amazing.
It's interesting.
It's amazing. I went to sleep once watching MTV, and it was heavy metal. I fell asleep. Okay. When I woke up, I had a newfound respect for the level of harmonic capability heavy metal folks have.
Yeah.
Because their harmonies, I'm thinking just Queen, let's just take a really popular Queen, right? Their ability to go higher and higher in their vocals is amazing. And there's no one that could tell me that heavy metal isn't a genre to be respected. I can't do it. You know, my voice just isn't built that way.
No.
But I got a 15-year-old boy who's just singing the crap out of the Sabaton. Sabaton's like a Swedish band that talk about historical things like wars and stuff like that, like gods and generals and stuff like that. But I have this like respect for music that I've learned from kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And that the fact of the matter is this, and I don't even know where I'm going here, but the fact of the matter is this: music, if you are in tune, like if you are really thinking while listening, your life will change. Your life will change. Like, why am 100%. Mike Scarfo at 9 years old is listening to Outkast?
How crazy! I know.
That's crazy,
isn't it? I know, and it's interesting because I had to, like, years later I re-listened to, finally once I was able to get my hands on the actual version of Speakerboxxx Love Below, it was almost like I was re-listening to it, like in a different way this time. With it, but also at the same time there was a nostalgic factor to it as well, where I was like, oh my god, I remember like literally taking the album and I was reading all the lyrics, like I was obsessed, like I'm not kidding, like, and when I told you I begged my parents, like begged, and my mom like finally was just like, all right, fine, but you're getting the clean version. And I sat there and just read those lyrics, even with everything, even all the swears starred out, I didn't even care. I was just like, I was so enamored with it, I couldn't put it down. And to this day they're probably like my favorite musical group of all time, just for me personally, but because of just like how would I associate with it. But two things
I was like that with Missy Elliott and TLC.
Ooh, TLC, got it. Like, Missy is one of like the queens when it comes to, like, people say, oh, Cardi and Megan Thee Stallion. Nah, Missy Elliott,
come on, Mike,
Lil Kim, like Kim, like they're the founders of, like, for females in hip hop,
female
like,
MCs.
They did it. They absolutely did it.
Eve was MC one. Like Queen Latifah came, Moni Love, all them came first, right?
Lauryn Hill, yeah, of course.
But Missy Elliott, Missy Elliott did some things that people just still haven't done to this day.
Agreed. Yeah, Missy Elliott she's undeniable. She's undeniable. And but two things to your point though, like, is I think a little bit of irony and also the stigmas that come along with not only African American culture but also heavy metal. So I want to touch on both of them because I think you'll find it interesting. As it pertains to heavy metal, I think heavy metal gets an interesting. It's not a genre I particularly like enjoy that often, although there are some hip hop acts that have blended metal that I can definitely get into, but it's never really been something that I personally have gravitated towards as often. But I think heavy metal artists get a bad rep for being like, I think there's a stigma that everyone's just like really just mean and aggressive and all these things. If you ever sit down with a metal artist, they're like the nicest people ever. It's so crazy. Like, they're very gentle people. Like, it's really, I don't want to go the other way and completely stigmatize that like that, but it's really interesting because my cousin was a heavy metal guitarist for like the longest time, still plays a lot, and he's like the most gentle, kind, like sweet person you'll ever meet, but like then he has that just other like side to him where he's just, it's just so funny. And then, of course, with like African American culture and Black culture in America as it pertains, like it's ironic that, of course, like, we oppressed, the Black community for the longest time, and now it's like our pop culture is that exactly. Like, it's exactly, like, we've just taken it over. It blows my mind. I mean, it blows my mind that hip hop is the leading genre in the world. Yeah. Oh, I mean, like, you can't listen to a commercial on TV without hearing some form of heavy bass, heavy kick, drum, like that's hip hop. And I'm like, I cannot, I'm talking about toilet paper. They got rappers rapping bears about Charmin toilet paper. I'm like, are you serious? And I think that's what drives our community nuts. You want it so bad, but you don't want us. That's, I know. It's jacked up. It is. It's been that way since, as we kind of coming full circle to it, much earlier sentiment we talked about earlier with Elvis. Like, yes. It's like we want that culture, but we don't want you. Don't want you. It's
don't want you. I hate it. It's so weird. It's weird. It's strange. And being that I, grew up in all white private Christian schools, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, people's ability to separate it all and compartmentalize it and make it seem so innocent. But I could talk about that topic for many, many hours. So don't let me do that. Don't let me do that. But one thing I will say is that the white community has opened their arms up to me, and they've embraced, you know, Sympli Whitney in a way that I respect. And I thank folks for being supportive of my music, and coming out to my shows and, you know, supporting my journey. And one thing that's been huge is the support I've gotten internationally overseas.
Oh, wow.
So this is let's see, I've got two full-length CDs. I've got a 12-inch vinyl album, and I'm featured on another 12-inch vinyl album. Got a number of remixes and all those different things, and most of the support for that came from Germany, the United Kingdom, Africa, Sweden, Australia, London, if I didn't say it, the UK, and the DJs over there and the folks over there just love soul music. Period.
Oh, I believe it. Yep.
And they don't clamor about things. You know, if they like it, they like it. You know what I mean? And they've been really, really supportive. Shout out to all the DJs overseas. Thank you so much. Sympli Whitney loves you, baby. So, you know, I've been blessed, Mike. I really have.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, no, and that's, music can kind of bridge those gaps, I think, sometimes, and really kind of bring people together. And I think it's a good segue too, because I want to definitely talk about your upcoming project that I have gotten a chance to listen to, and I absolutely adore. I think it's so, I love it so much. And it's called Sleepless. It's an EP with Yuki Kanesaka. Did I pronounce that correctly?
That's correct.
Ooh,
yeah.
Good. I'm usually not that great with pronunciation, so I'm glad I got that. So just now, for people that haven't heard it, of course.
Sure.
So first, when is it coming? And of course, talk to me a little bit about like the creative process of this one for you, and like what kind of went into it. Of course, creatively.
So it's already available. I actually released it maybe a week and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
I didn't tell you that. Sorry.
That's okay. All right. So screw that. Available now. Linked in the description.
Available now.
Check it out.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So yeah, it's available on my website, Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, all those places you can find it. Sleepless EP. The creative process. So this we wanted to do something completely different than anything that Sympli Whitney had done before. I wanted a funky soul type sound that was timeless. So I said to Yuki, who's my keyboard player for my band, but also a brilliant producer and engineer, I said to Yuki, you know, I want to mash up Michael Jackson and Layla Hathaway, Donny Hathaway's daughter. Mm-hmm. Now, what that meant was we needed to go into the files. Like we needed to do some digging, right? So I said, okay, I want a sound like Layla mixed with an off-the-wall instrumentation, like Off the Wall from Michael Jackson's, Off the Wall. And so he was like, all right, cool. And out of that, there was two songs that came out of that, Complete and Law and Order. Complete was actually, written like an off-the-wall type track, horns and a lot of live instrumentation. Yuki did all of the instruments, so he plays all of those instruments live, and got the horns and keys and the bass, like all of that. So he's an amazing cat, and he put Complete together. And then one day I was watching Law and Order SVU. It's one of my favorite shows, right? And you know the opening line, dun 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 dun.
I do, yeah, that cool bass line that they have. Yep.
Yeah, cool. Right. Okay, so I was like, Yuki, I want that bass line. I want a piece of that bass line, right? So if you listen to Law and Order, there's a little bit of that bass line in it, right?
That's too funny.
Boom 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 boom.
Listen, baby.
Right, so that's that Law and Order, right?
Yeah.
That boom, 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 boom. So I said, okay, let's do that. Let's put those two together. So those two came first, and then a few years ago, a French producer had asked me to write to some music to some write some lyrics to some music he had sent me, and it didn't go anywhere. But I told Yuki to keep it and hold it, because I want to go back to it. So that's how Dance came. Okay. Dance is the, fun. If you think about roller skating, if you think about the 70s, dance is kind of like the disco ball, and people are just like, dance with me, and so we got that one. And this took about a year and a half to 2 years to get all 4 of these tracks. And then the last one was Funky Love. Funky Love is the slower track, and that was really, I have like a book of 400 writing prompts, okay? And I'm flipping through this book, and I'm like writing things down. And I come across this line that says, be my shower steam, and I'll write your name on the mirror, right? Yeah. Right? So I was like, well, that's relatable.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right? Right? So I was like, I think I might write something to this, and that's how Funky Love came about. And Yuki is the type of, I have ADHD, right? If you can't tell, because I go from different topics. I get back to it.
Yeah.
But Yuki is a single, like, he's not a multitasker. He's got to focus, and when you're in his presence, you must focus as well. He's very, very, very clear about that. And so he helped me to focus in and helped me to write the lyrics in a way that could relate, and people really started to dig the way that I was writing. You know what I mean? The last few albums that I had done before this, nothing at all like this, like these 4 tracks. And as a result, I mean, people just love it. I'm on charts over in the UK. I'm doing pretty good. You know what I'm saying? In the first couple weeks, that's dynamite. I got people asking me if, to interview, and, so it's a really good feeling. But the artistic development of it was, Whitney, basically, shut up and learn. You know what I mean? Shut up and learn. Learn what music means. Learn why it's important to not sing in this space and let the music carry it, Or learn why you don't need a riff or an ad-lib here. Just sing the melody. And that was tough, because I'm an R&B neo-soul cat, and R&B and neo-soul has a lot of vocal calisthenics, if you will. But funk and soul, funk is really about the pocket and being able to have your timing in a way that is adds to the overall thing and doesn't take away or doesn't stand out too much in the music. The music, the instrument is my voice, right? And the other instrument, like all the instruments come together. Instead of one being higher than the other or what have you, all of them come together to make this funky love, And as a result, it's carried me into a whole other way of thinking. And the other good thing about this is that in the meantime, while I was getting this all together, I was introduced to a well-known Mattapan rapper, True L Mattapan, and he's tied into the Jules Santana, and he's doing his thing. Shout out True L. He introduced me to this cat named Monty Dale. Monty Dale works out of Framingham, but he is the master and mixing genius behind folks like Ed Sheeran and Dua Lipa and people like that. And he heard my music and he wanted to work with me. So, okay, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the quality in comparison to the past records is also stellar. I mean, like there's my voice is very clear. The music is popping in different ways, and that I just didn't think Sympli Whitney, you know, would sound like that. You know, I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So all of that, just trying to find the right sound for me, has been part of the development of this CD.
That. And just like the innovativeness and just not staying complacent in what you were doing and trying to push yourself even further to push your sound further. And yeah, it's amazing what can come from that. And I love what you were saying a little bit earlier in this segment where you were talking a lot about learning still. And even though you're a veteran in music, I feel like, especially around this scene and things of that nature, but for you to still have that mindset of like, I still need to learn, I still want to learn, like I say it all the time to my students. I'm like, guys, like I still learn every single day. Like learning is a lifelong thing. You do it until the day you're not here anymore. It's like, and that's why, like, you know, I think with everything like we talked about earlier with things going on in this country, you know, people being very stuck in their ways and not wanting to learn is what drives me craziest about everything. I mean, obviously, of course, you know, there's a lot of, you know, just horrible things that have happened in the last year, and of course, I mean, they've been happening. It's not like they haven't been happening. Let's not act like they haven't been. But the inability to want to learn, right, is kind of what drives, again, like I said, drives me a little bit crazy. So for you to have that mindset of like, you know what, like I'm gonna soak this in and learn as much. I think the product definitely speaks for itself. I'm enjoying it.
Man.
Totally. Again, guys, we're definitely gonna link this in the description. It's down below. So after this episode, absolutely go check this thing out.
Check it out.
It's a really great body of work. You will not be sorry that you did and that you checked it out. So support Sympli Whitney. She's doing a lot of amazing things, and this project is definitely one. So check it out. Support. It's out on all streaming platforms. So I have my final question for you.
All right.
It's my favorite question I love to ask every artist that comes on this show. You'll like this one. I kind of think I already have an answer. Judging by what you've said already, I think we're going to have the answer, but
might surprise you.
I think you will. I think you will. So either way, we have arrived. Of course, our audience knows where we're at now. It's, of course, the dream song scenario. And I'll structure it for you and kind of break it down of what it entails. We ask every artist that comes on this show, if you could make a song, any song, and you can have any artists on this song, dead or alive, who would you have on it? And I'll give you some criteria. So you get 1 to 2 producers, okay, or like instrumentalists, whatever you want. So 1 to 2 people that help craft the sonic nature of it, and then you get 3 guest features. 3. So it's 2 producers, 3 guest features. Yes. So it's your song. So like, and some people come on here and they're like, like I want all these artists to come together, and like I'm not sure how it would work. It's the dream song scenario. Who cares? Like that's the fun of it. So if you want to put Kendrick Lamar and Michael Jackson on a song together, you can do that. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So either way, okay. So dream song scenario, Sympli Whitney, 1 to 2 producers, 3 artists. Who would be on your dream song scenario? Take as much time as you need. The floor is yours. Okay. All right. So Michael Jackson, definitely. No. But I would have him as a producer. Interesting. Yeah. I'd have him as a producer. Okay. I would also put, this is crazy. I'm ready for it. I would put Timbaland and Michael Jackson together to do the production. Okay. All right. Okay. And then my 3 features. Anderson .Paak. That is my guy. I love Anderson .Paak. He's fantastic. Shaka. Yep. Shaka Khan. Mm-hmm. And I'm stuck between this her and Yuna. I don't know Yuna. Do you know who Yuna is? I don't know Yuna, no. She did a song with Usher. And she's out of, I'm going to say overseas somewhere. Okay. But check her out. She's neo soul. Oh, she's Sade. She's, she's dope. Okay. I'm going to have to. But Anderson .Paak, Shaka Khan, and either her or Yuna. That sounds... Yeah, screw. We'll let you have both. That's fine. All right, that's 4. Right? We'll give it to you. Her and Yuna. That's awesome. Her. She's just amazing. Oh, she's just so amazing. Good. She's so good. She's really good. I mean, and the bass player is a friend of a friend. So. Oh wow,
that's cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my dream. I mean, I love Bruno Mars too.
What Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars just put out for that song is...
I don't understand how I just don't. It's not fair.
It's
It's
so
not
like
fair.
the album is going to be so good. Like I have the highest now. After Leave the Door Open, I have the highest expectations for it. Like it's just
it was ridiculous.
Ridiculous. And when they performed it, now I was going to say what you want about the Grammys, and I'm glad her finally is getting recognition and winning some things. And I don't always love what the Academy does, but that's that's a whole different conversation. But I didn't really watch too much of the Grammys this year, but Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars' performance, if anyone has not seen that, you have to go see it, because it is just like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I can't even explain.
Bruno Mars he's definitely bringing back good music. And Anderson .Paak is just, I'm late. I'm late to Anderson.
Well, I have Malibu peeking out right here.
Oh, nice.
Malibu is easily my favorite Anderson .Paak album. Like, not even close.
I'll check it out. I'm new, but he's amazing.
Oh, he's so good.
He reminds me of like an edgy D'Angelo.
Yeah, that's actually
like
yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I like D'Angelo too.
D'Angelo's good. I definitely like D'Angelo. Definitely more of a Paak fan than D'Angelo. But one of the things about Paak that a lot of people don't like, he's a great drummer. Like that's actually like that's like his thing. Like he's a fantastic drummer. As good of a singer. I think he's a very passable rapper. I prefer him as a singer because I think his voice is just so unique. But he's an amazing drummer too. I've seen him live. He's fantastic. So.
And anybody who can drum and sing has got my vote.
Oh yeah, 1000%. Like
not
Paak is.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy. Either way. Sympli Whitney, everyone. This was just a phenomenal episode. I'm so excited that we got the chance to have you on here.
Me too,
and
man.
You talked about so many just incredible things and sentiments, and I'm walking away definitely enlightened and learning a lot. And like I said, guys, seriously, like. You got to go check out this EP. It's really good. It's called Sleepless. Support it. It's in the description. Plug away. Tell our audience where they can find you on socials and all that good stuff. Sure.
So it's SympliWhitney.com. SYMPLI Whitney.com. Please remember the Y comes first. So
I forgot that, guys. Sorry.
Y comes first. You switch the I and the Y. You can go to Facebook under Sympli Whitney or SWP #KeepRising, which is the biggest motto I can tell you right now. Keep rising out there, guys. That's the brand. Please start looking for merchandise with Keep Rising on the logo. You can also check me out on Amazon and Google Play. If you just Google Sympli Whitney, you can find me. I come up pretty easy. Go to Instagram, it's Sympli Whitney. I also have another band called Curbside Band. I forgot to tell you about my Curbside Band. Is an original eclectic type band, and we do a lot of good original jazz type soul music. So check them out too. Curbside Band spelled with a K. That's on Instagram as well. Curbside.com. Curbsideband.com. And let's see, where else am I? I'm on TikTok, but I'm not great at it.
Me neither. I'm trying my best with that, but it's a tough app.
But I'm on there.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I'm gonna definitely check out some Curbside because that sounds good. Like I said, of course, I like the eclectic jazz stuff. As you've said, so, for sure. Yeah. But and of course, if you are just coming on to us for the first time and you're a fan of Sympli Whitney, obviously follow us. Check us out, www.turntableteachers.com. We got all the latest episodes, blogs, all that good stuff is all there. And then of course follow us on Instagram, probably the best place to follow us, at Turntable Teachers. We are also on TikTok as well. Not doing really like it's more just the Instagram videos onto TikTok, but you can still follow us there. It's cool. And of course subscribe to our YouTube channel where you're probably watching this, or if you're listening, make sure you also subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud. You guys know the deal. Sympli Whitney, thank you so much for being here. This was a fantastic episode. We will absolutely have you back, no question.
Thank you,
Mike.
No
doubt about it. Of course. Right. So my pleasure was all mine. And without further ado, I'm Mike. This is Sympli Whitney with the Turntable Teachers. And class is officially dismissed. Turntable.